Hey everyone and welcome. So this is another post-course video. This is just going to be a really short one about repositories and going back to the source control. I've had somebody mention in the Q&A section that because of some of the changes they think they're possibly having issues setting up their source control. And to be fair, some of the interface on SourceTree now does look really different. And going back to it, so does Bitbucket. So I wanted to just do a quick update. I'm going to place this one around the other videos. I'm going to leave the old videos there because some of the content in the information that was provided is still really useful. And everything setup-wise is exactly the same. It's just that some of the locations of things are different. So I'm going to place this before those videos, so it's going to be a little bit quicker. And if you do want to find out a bit more about the source control and how it all works, then do continue and watch the other videos after this because, as I said, that's still going to be really relevant. But if you're watching this now, this is August 2017, so sometime around here, then this is possibly what the interface will look like for you now in SourceTree. So the main thing is that we now have this new tab, and when we go to create a new repository, we actually do this over here now. So as I said, in the next video, I'll actually explain what cloning, adding, and create is, but just to get the repository set up, in this new interface, the thing that we're interested in is the create button here. And what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to the destination path of where the project is. So what I've done is, again, because I can't really put the repository back in that I already have, I'm going to use a folder and a project that I haven't put into a repository yet. So replace the project I choose, which is Ninja Duel, and replace that with your shoot 'em up project. And what we want to do is select the very root folder. So under my projects, Unreal Engine 4, Ninja Duel, that's the very first folder, is the root folder. So that's one that we want. Give this project a name. I'm just going to leave this as Ninja Duel so it matches up. Make sure that we have this selected as Git. And then make sure, this is another new thing, make sure that we do not tick the create repository on account. We'll do that manually in a moment to avoid any issues. So go ahead and hit the create button. It will say that there are files already in this folder, which it doesn't usually expect, but that's fine. So just hit yes. And what we can see is that we have all of the files that we have in our folder here. Now, the important thing is, as we've done in the previous video, is that we have the git ignore in here already. So make sure that we stage this first of all, and then that will make sure it filters out everything that we don't want to be in our repository from being included. Now, the final stage we really want to do to get this onto the repository is to press the push button, and what we would want to see is over here is a master branch and the location online that this is going to go, but obviously we haven't set that up yet, so that's the stage we're going to do now. So if we navigate on over to bitbucket.org, again, this layout's slightly different to what you'll see in the future videos, which are going to be a little bit dated interface-wise, but just to really drive this home that this is still useful information, so I would recommend watching it. So with the new interface, what we want to do is to create the repository. I haven't, as I said, created a repository for this project yet. We're going to press this plus sign over here, which is create, and it now gives you a list of options that we want. So we can create a team, a repository, a project, or a snippet. So we want a new repository, so we'll select that. And we can give this any name. This is very arbitrary, but again, I like to keep the names of my repositories matching the names of the project. So I name this Ninja Duel, and you can do, again, make sure that you put something relevant to the shoot 'em up project you're working on. Leave all of this as it is by default, which is fine, and then we'll create our repository. Now, the last couple of steps, very simple things. Because we have an existing project, we can see there's two options down here. I'm starting from scratch, or I have an existing project. So we want to see what happens under here. And really all this is a couple of commands that we need to put into SourceTree just to link up the online repository to our application and the location on our system for the repository. And good timing. So we don't actually need the first step here, because if we open up SourceTree quickly, what we've done by creating this repository based on the location of the folder is that if we go to the terminal button up here on the top right, we can see that it defaults to the folder location that we have, D projects, UE4, Ninja Duel. So that is all that this is doing, is you'd replace that with your path to the repository, and the CD is going to change directory. That's what that stands for. So it's going to change directory to the path of your project, but we already have that sorted, so we can ignore this one. What we do want are these two down here, and we'll copy one at a time. So we'll Control C this, and then actually leaving the terminal open, or if you've closed it, then reopen the terminal. if you hit Shift and Insert on the keyboard, then that will copy everything in. Otherwise, you're going to have to type this in manually. And once you've copied that in, just hit Enter. And that is done. So that has now created a remote link to the Git repository. And this URL here is in relation to the information on the repository here. So now we have the app and the repository linked. The final things we want to do is we're just going to give the first commit that we make, I'll call this init, down in this box here. And when we've put the git ignore into this, we then want to stage everything else as well. So we want all of the files to go up. So if we hit the commit button now, if we press push, we can now see that we didn't have this option before, and that's because we didn't have anything linked. But with the previous steps we've just taken on the browser, we've now linked everything. So if we press push, we only have one branch, which is the master branch, and we'll press push. So what that's now doing is it's taking it from the application, and this is storing the reference and the information to our repository online. And that has all worked. So if you give it a bit of time, you'll have the master appear over here. Mine was just doing some work. You can see a little bar going up over here. When that's done, we can see that we have a commit, which has got the comment init, just for initialize, or initial commit, and all of the files that we included over here. And then if we go back to the browser one last time, what we can do, and you don't need to do this, it's just to confirm really that what I've done has just worked, is we'll go to commits, and we can see that we have our comment. And if we actually press this button here, this is a link, this will link us to all of the files. So we have our git ignore and everything else that I had inside of the project. So that has all worked. And as I said, if you follow and watch the next couple of videos, the interface is going to be slightly different, but now it's going to make it a little bit more sense on what the old button's relating to. And as I said, I want to keep all of the content here just in case you're using an older version of SourceTree anyway. And because some of the information I went through, it kind of made more sense in context with what we've already looked at and the stage that I was at where I didn't have a full project. I can't really recreate that and fake that. So I'm going to insert this video for kind of completion's sake, because I think it is important to keep up to date with the new interfaces and everything and make sure that people don't get stuck. But at the same time, I think it's really important to see how I was committing everything with the Shoot 'em Up project at the same stage that you should be at with your project. So I'll leave everything here. Would recommend watching the next source control videos. Hopefully this has been useful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.